Selects Jeff George, quarterback from Illinois.
The Colts selected Illinois starting quarterback Jeff George with the first overall pick in the 1990 NFL Draft. With hopes of being the franchise quarterback the Colts had sorely been lacking since John Unitas, Jeff George was far from that. He would throw more picks and touchdowns in his stint with Indianapolis and would go 14-35 as the team's starting quarterback. After 1993, Jeff George would be out of Indianapolis. He would sign a contract with the Atlanta Falcons to continue his career. Despite his controversies in Indianapolis, Jeff George actually had a decent stint with the Atlanta Falcons. In 1995, he would take the Falcons to the playoffs with a 9-5 record. George would have a career season with him earning the Falcons' all-time single-season passing yards record. However, that record would later be broken 13 years later by quarterback Matt Ryan. The following year in 1996, there were talks about the Falcons bringing Jeff George back on a massive contract extension, as they thought they had found their franchise quarterback. However, in the middle of a Week 4 loss against the Philadelphia Eagles, Jeff George and his head coach would get into a sideline spat. After the sideline spat against the Eagles, Jeff George would be out for the rest of the season. This was due to the fact the Falcons were done with his immaturity, and they would bench him for the rest of the season. After being released by the Falcons in the 1997 offseason, he would sign with the Oakland Raiders on a 2-year contract. In 1999, he would sign a 1-year contract with the Minnesota Vikings, where he would have a career season. He would lead the Vikings to an 8-2 record as he started multiple games, and they even won a playoff game against the Dallas Cowboys 27-17. Jeff George that year also came in 4th in the Comeback Player of the Year voting, and it was pretty much one of his career highs as a quarterback. Jeff George would sign a 4-year contract worth $14 million with Washington in the 2000 offseason. Despite being paid on a 4-year contract, Jeff George would be released after just 2 seasons. He struggled with Washington and would become a journeyman backup for the rest of his career. After the 2006 season ended, Jeff George would announce his retirement from football. The case of Jeff George is an interesting one. While he did last 17 years in the NFL, I still have to consider him a bust. Jeff George did have the ability to succeed at the NFL level. However, his inability to get along with teammates and his lack of work ethic really doomed him.
Thank you very much, Coach.
The Detroit Lions select Andre Ware, quarterback, Houston.
The Detroit Lions selected quarterback Andre Ware out of Houston with the 7th overall pick in the 1990 NFL Draft. Despite being drafted with the 7th overall pick, Andre Ware would only throw 5 touchdown passes in his entire NFL career. This was due to the fact the team didn't really have much trust in him as the team's franchise quarterback. By 1996, Andre Ware was pretty much out of the NFL. He would sign with the CFL and would win a CFL championship in 1997. However, he would never take another NFL regular season snap after 1993. As of making this video, Andre Ware is currently an analyst for ESPN.
The Seattle Seahawks select Dan McGuire, quarterback, San Diego State.
The Seattle Seahawks used the 16th overall pick in the 1991 NFL Draft on Dan McGuire out of San Diego State. Around the same time that Dan got drafted, you had Mark McGuire, his older brother who was dominating pro baseball at this exact same time with the Oakland A's. Dan's career in the NFL was extremely brief. He spent 4 years with the Seattle Seahawks organization before being cut. After being cut by Seattle, in 1995 he would spend 1 more year with the Miami Dolphins before calling it quits from the NFL. Dan finished his NFL career with just 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, along with less than 600 yards. This was due to the fact that Dan failed to adapt to the NFL level, similar to Andre Ware.
The Los Angeles Raiders select Todd Marinovich, quarterback, Southern California.
The Oakland Raiders used the 24th pick in the 1991 NFL Draft on Todd Marinovich out of USC. Despite being taken to be seen as the future franchise quarterback of the Oakland Raiders, Marinovich never really developed into that. He dealt with off-the-field issues involving drugs and alcohol, and he never really developed as a star quarterback. Since Marinovich retired, there is an entire 30 for 30 on a perspective into his career, along with the stuff he dealt with at USC and his time with the Oakland Raiders and his NFL career. Marinovich would spend just 2 seasons with the Raiders organization before being released in 1993. He would throw 8 touchdowns to 9 picks, and he would never play at the NFL level again.
The 6th pick in the draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select David Klingler, quarterback, Houston.
With the 6th overall pick in the 1992 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals selected David Klingler from Houston. The Bengals drafted Klingler in hope he would be the franchise quarterback. However, with the Bengals, Klingler never really developed into a star quarterback. While he made the All-Rookie team in 1992, beyond that, he didn't have much success in the NFL. A shoulder injury caused him to miss multiple games during his time with Cincinnati, and he would eventually find his way to the Oakland Raiders organization, where a separate shoulder injury would end his career.
The Denver Broncos select Tommy Maddox, quarterback, UCLA.
The Denver Broncos used the 25th overall pick in the 1992 NFL Draft on quarterback Tommy Maddox. The pick of Tommy Maddox with the 25th pick is extremely controversial in Denver's history. This is due to the fact that they had John Elway, the team's franchise quarterback. After spending just 2 years in Denver, Tommy Maddox was shipped off to the LA Rams in exchange for just a 4th-round pick. Following the trade in 1994, Tommy Maddox would not start for the Giants or Rams, rather he would be the backup quarterback for both franchises. He would be released from the Atlanta Falcons in 1997, and he would be out of football. However, unlike the previous busts listed on this list, Tommy Maddox actually had a second chance at life in a football career. He would sign with the AFL and then the XFL in 2001. After winning the XFL championship in early 2001, later that year he would get a tryout with the Pittsburgh Steelers. In the middle of the 2002 season, Tommy Maddox would take over for an injured Cordell Stewart. Upon taking over as Steelers quarterback, Tommy Maddox would have a career revival in Pittsburgh. He would go 7-3-1 as the team's starting quarterback and would guide them to the AFC North title. This was their first AFC North title of the 2000s. He would throw 20 touchdowns to 16 picks, and he would even lead a miracle comeback victory over the hated rival Cleveland Browns in the wildcard round. That year, Maddox would win 2002 NFL Comeback Player of the Year. He was then rewarded with a massive contract extension by the Pittsburgh Steelers. After 2002, Tommy Maddox would stick around with the Pittsburgh Steelers all the way until the 2006 offseason. Throughout that time, Tommy Maddox was mostly the backup quarterback behind Ben Roethlisberger for the franchise. He would see some playing time over the years, but he didn't really have much meaningful play after 2002. In 2007, Tommy Maddox would call it a career.
The Patriots select Drew Bledsoe, quarterback, Washington State University.
The Patriots used the first overall pick in the 1993 NFL Draft on Washington State quarterback Drew Bledsoe. What people forget about the Patriots is that before Tom Brady, there was Drew Bledsoe. While Drew Bledsoe never won the big game, he was a great franchise quarterback for the Patriots for nearly a decade. In Bledsoe's second season, he would lead the Patriots to a 10-6 record, along with making the playoffs. However, in the playoffs, they would lose to the Cleveland Browns 20-13 in the wildcard round, ironic enough to future head coach Bill Belichick. Despite the early playoff exit, Drew Bledsoe was looking like one of the most promising quarterbacks in the NFL. He was a Pro Bowler that year while also leading the league in passing yards. In 1996, however, he would take a massive step forward. The 1996 season was the peak of the Drew Bledsoe era. The Patriots would win the AFC Championship game over the Jacksonville Jaguars 20-6. While Bledsoe didn't play well, the team still made it to the Super Bowl. It was their first appearance since the 1985 season, and Bledsoe was looking like one of the most promising quarterbacks of the future. Despite taking an early 14-10 lead in the Super Bowl, Drew Bledsoe didn't play well at all. He would throw 4 interceptions throughout the Super Bowl, and he had one of the worst quarterback performances in the big game of all time. After the 1996 season, the Patriots would slightly regress. They would go 10-6 in 1997 and would win a playoff game in the wildcard round. However, they would fall in the divisional round the following week. After 1997, the Patriots would stagnate under Drew Bledsoe. They would go 8-8 in 1999 and 6-10 in 2000. Despite the team overall regressing, the Patriots still decided to give Drew Bledsoe a massive contract extension over the next 10 years. Little did anyone know, history was about to change.
3rd down and 10 now. Big play for the Patriots. Bledsoe gonna run it. Needs 10 yards.
Mo Lewis's hit on Drew Bledsoe. Not only did it change the Patriots' history, but it also altered NFL history as a whole. It gave quarterback Tom Brady his first ever chance at the NFL level. This hit relegated Drew Bledsoe to the backup quarterback behind Tom Brady. However, in the 2001 AFC Championship game, Bledsoe would have one more iconic moment as a Patriot. He would come in for an injured Brady and lead them to a victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. Despite playing the hero in the AFC Championship game, once again Bledsoe was relegated to the backup behind Tom Brady. He was forced to watch as Brady led the Patriots to their first ever Super Bowl victory.
More than just a sign on the dotted line ceremony this afternoon out at Ralph Wilson Stadium. Thousands of fans got together to celebrate Drew Bledsoe's addition to the Buffalo Bills. Eyewitness News reporter John Kosick is out at the stadium tonight. He joins us now live with more on this big sports day in Buffalo. John.
Keith, the obvious headline to this story is what a difference a week makes. The Bills have now gone from a 3-13 team looking to rebuild to one that is now looking to contend. And at the center of it all, one Drew Bledsoe. And today, this region of good neighbors came out to welcome their newest one.
Well, let me just start by saying that I'm proud to be a part of the Buffalo Bills organization.
The arrival of Pro Bowler Drew Bledsoe to Orchard Park marks the writing of a new chapter in Bills history. And with this rally, fans wanted to add their own exclamation point, even if it meant skipping work.
I was supposed to be at work, but I'm not there, so. And I didn't call in.
You're going to get in trouble by this being on?
I don't care. It's Drew Bledsoe, you know. We got to be here.
The fanfare surrounding Bledsoe's arrival here today reminiscent of that which we saw some 16 years ago in August of 1986 when Jim Kelly signed with the Buffalo Bills. Fan expectations are just as high. He's been to the dance before. Do you think he can lead us back?
I think so. He's got all the tools. I don't see why not. We got all the other tools in the draft this year. I think we're going all the way.
The Bledsoe signing also gives the Bills a marquee name, a name that will mean a big shot in the arm when it comes to team marketing.
It's picking up tremendously. You know, everybody wants Bledsoe jerseys, Bledsoe hats, Bledsoe, you know, whatever they can get their hands on. So, you know, it's certainly going to pick up business, and it's going to, you know, as we get closer to the season, it'll get bigger and bigger.
And bigger also summing up the fans' expectations, many of them coming out and saying Drew Bledsoe himself fueling that fire by saying he came to Buffalo for one reason, to win a championship. Reporting live in Orchard Park, John Kosick, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
The Patriots deciding that Drew Bledsoe was expendable traded him to the Buffalo Bills in exchange for a 2002 first-round pick. Bledsoe's first season with the Bills was filled with a lot of promise. He would throw for over 4,300 yards while making the Pro Bowl. He'd also throw for 24 touchdowns and 15 picks while completing over 61% of his passes. Despite going 8-8, the Bills decided to keep him around for the following season. In Bledsoe's 3 years with the Bills, he never made the playoffs once with Buffalo. He would go 6-10 in 2003 and 9-7 in 2004. However, in 2004, they would be on the brink of a playoff spot. However, they would lose in the final week of the season. After the 2004 season, the Bills would release Bledsoe in order to start starter J.P. Losman. After 2004, Bledsoe would have a 2-year stint with the Dallas Cowboys in both 2005 and 2006. In 2005, he would lead them to a 9-7 record, with him still showing flashes as a potential starter. However, in 2006, he would fall off a cliff. In the middle of 2006, he would be benched for quarterback Tony Romo. After 2006, Drew Bledsoe would announce his retirement from the NFL.
With the second choice in the draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Rick Meyer, quarterback, Notre Dame.
The Seattle Seahawks used the second overall pick on Notre Dame quarterback Rick Meyer. Despite making the all-rookie team for the Seahawks, Rick Meyer was a terrible quarterback for the most part. He had losing seasons for the most part, he threw more picks than touchdowns during his career in Seattle, and he never really got it together as the team's franchise quarterback. After an awful 1996 season, the Seattle Seahawks would ship Rick Meyer off to the Chicago Bears in exchange for a first-round pick. After 1 year in Chicago in 1997, Rick Meyer would be a journeyman backup for the rest of his career. He would have stints with the Packers, Jets, Raiders, 49ers, and Detroit Lions before announcing his retirement in 2005.
With the third pick of the first round, the Washington Redskins select Heath Schuler, quarterback, Tennessee.
With the third overall pick in the 1994 NFL Draft, Washington would select Heath Schuler to try and be the team's franchise quarterback. Despite being the third overall pick in the draft, Heath Schuler never developed as a starting quarterback in the NFL. He would be out of Washington after his rookie contract expired, and after a brief stint with the New Orleans Saints in the late 90s, he would retire from football. Heath Schuler would combine for 15 touchdowns to 33 picks in his entire NFL career.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have made the sixth pick in the first round, and they've selected Trent Dilfer, quarterback, Fresno State.
With the sixth overall pick in the 1994 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would select Fresno State quarterback Trent Dilfer. During his time in Tampa Bay, Trent Dilfer was an inconsistent quarterback. In his sophomore season, he would combine for 4 touchdowns to 18 picks, and while the team did go 7-9, he did struggle. In '97, he would go 10-6 while making his first career Pro Bowl. He would lead the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a playoff victory in the wild card round. After going 8-8 in 1998, Dilfer would lead the Buccaneers to a 7-3 start. However, late in the season against the Seattle Seahawks, he would break his collarbone, forcing Tampa Bay to start Sean King the rest of the season. After the season, the Buccaneers would let Trent Dilfer walk in free agency. In 2000, Dilfer would sign a 1-year contract with the Baltimore Ravens to be the team's backup quarterback. Dilfer would actually see playing time, as behind the 2000 Ravens defense, when Tony Banks began to struggle, the team would turn to Dilfer for the playoffs. In the 2000 playoffs, Trent Dilfer would play the role as a game manager for the Baltimore Ravens. Dilfer would be carried by the Ravens' running game and their defense all the way to the Super Bowl that season. Dilfer in the Super Bowl, when he got his chance, he would play alright in that game. He would throw a touchdown on the Ravens' first offensive drive, and the Ravens would blow the New York Giants out 34-7 to win their franchise's first ever Super Bowl title. After the season, the Baltimore Ravens would release Trent Dilfer into free agency. The team would sign Elvis Grbac to replace the journeyman quarterback, and Trent Dilfer would spend the rest of his career as a journeyman backup for several franchises. In 2007, Trent Dilfer would announce his retirement from football after spending a season with the San Francisco 49ers. And as of making this video, Trent Dilfer is currently a head coach in the college football ranks at the University of UAB.
With the
third choice in the first round, the Houston Oilers select quarterback from Alcorn State, Steve McNair.
With the third overall pick in the 1995 NFL Draft, the then Houston Oilers and now the Tennessee Titans selected Steve McNair. After spending 2 years on the bench as the team's backup quarterback, Steve McNair would be made the team's starting quarterback by Jeff Fisher going into the 1997 season. After 2 straight seasons of going 8-8 as the team's starter, in 1999, the Tennessee Titans under Steve McNair would go 13-3. While he missed multiple games due to an injury, when he did play, he was the team's starting quarterback and would go 9-2 as the team's starter. He would lead the team all the way until the 1999 AFC Championship game, where they would upset the Jacksonville Jaguars and go to the Super Bowl. The Titans would beat the Jaguars 33-14, with Steve McNair playing out of his mind. He would rush for 2 touchdowns, throwing for an additional passing touchdown, and he looked like one of the most promising quarterbacks in the NFL. Late in the Super Bowl, the Titans found themselves down 23-16 late in the game. Late in the game, Steve McNair had a miraculous scramble on the game-winning drive. He managed to avoid defenders while trying to buy time for a receiver to get open, and after breaking a sack, he connected wide down the field to wide receiver Kevin Dyson to set themselves up at the 10-yard line. However, on the final play of the game, they would come up 1 yard short. Despite the loss in the Super Bowl to the Rams, Steve McNair's future with the organization looked pretty well, and he would actually remain the Titans' franchise quarterback all the way until 2005. When Steve McNair was healthy in the 2000s, the Titans were one of the most competitive teams in the AFC. They would win the division title in 2000 and 2003, and were looking like one of the most promising teams in the league. However, Steve McNair's injuries continued to catch up with him. In 2003, Steve McNair would have his best year as a pro. That year, he would win NFL co-MVP for the award, he would win second-team All-Pro, and would make his second career Pro Bowl. The Titans in 2003 would finish the year at 12-4 and would make it all the way back to the AFC Championship game. However, they would fall short to the New England Patriots, and this would be Steve McNair's last playoff appearance as a member of the Tennessee Titans. In both 2004 and 2005, Steve McNair managed to power through multiple injuries to continue playing for his team. He would be traded to the Baltimore Ravens in 2006, where he would have a decent season. With Baltimore, Steve McNair would go 13-3 as the team's starting quarterback. He would throw for 16 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. However, they would lose in the divisional round to the Indianapolis Colts. After spending one more year with the Ravens in 2007, Steve McNair would call it quits from the NFL and announce his retirement in April of 2008. Upon his retirement in 2008, Steve McNair retired top 3 in both passing yards and passing touchdowns in Titans history. As of this video, he is one of the most successful quarterbacks the Titans have selected over the last 25 years.
The fifth choice in the first round, the Carolina Panthers select quarterback from Penn State, Kerry Collins.
The Carolina Panthers used the 5th overall pick in the 1995 NFL Draft on quarterback Kerry Collins out of Penn State. Collins and the Panthers started out alright. In 1995, he would make the All-Rookie team for the Carolina Panthers as the team went 7-9. However, in 1996, the team would take a massive leap forward. The team would go 12-4 while making the playoffs for the first time in franchise history, and Collins would be a Pro Bowler that year. In the first round of the playoffs, the Carolina Panthers and Kerry Collins would be matched up against the Dallas Cowboys. The team had gone 10-6 and won their division, but they weren't the same super team that they were in years past. Kerry Collins and the Panthers, however, would upset them 26-17. The following week, Collins and the Panthers would lose to the Green Bay Packers in the NFC Championship game, and that was about all the good that Kerry Collins did as a Carolina Panther. After a 21-interception 1997 season, the Panthers would trade Kerry Collins to the New Orleans Saints in exchange for a few draft picks. After spending 1 year in New Orleans, the Saints would move on from Kerry Collins, allowing him to sign a 1-year contract with the New York Giants in 1999. After earning the Giants' starting quarterback job going into the 2000 season, Kerry Collins would have a career year. He would go 12-4 as the Giants' starting quarterback while winning the NFC East title over the Philadelphia Eagles, who would finish the year at 11-5. That same season for the Giants, they would make a deep playoff run. Kerry Collins would finish as the runner-up to the 2000 NFL Comeback Player of the Year award. After coming out victorious over the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional round, the Minnesota Vikings would await the Giants in the NFC Championship game. In what was anticipated to be a close matchup, the New York Giants completely torched the Minnesota Vikings. Kerry Collins would throw for 5 touchdowns in a career day while also throwing for a hair under 400 yards. He also had a quarterback rating of 120.8. The victory by the New York Giants would mark their first ever Super Bowl appearance since the 1990 season, over 11 years earlier. The New York Giants up to this point had been America's Cinderella story, from a team that wasn't expected to be anywhere near the playoffs with Collins as a starter, all the way to facing the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl. Similar to Drew Bledsoe as seen earlier in this video, Kerry Collins' performance was just as worse. He would throw 4 interceptions in the game, but unlike Drew, he would throw 0 touchdowns and go 15 for 39 for just 112 yards. His quarterback rating was 7.2. Despite the loss in the Super Bowl, the New York Giants season was still pretty successful. They would keep Kerry Collins as the team's franchise quarterback for the foreseeable future. That was until after the 2003 season, in which the Giants would release Collins following a struggle. After his tenure with the Giants ended, Collins would sign a 3-year contract worth $16 million with the Oakland Raiders. After spending 2 years in Oakland, however, he would be released. Collins would sign with the Tennessee Titans in the 2006 offseason to provide competition for the starting quarterback job of quarterback Vince Young. After spending 2 years as a backup with the Titans behind Vince Young, Kerry Collins would get a second chance in the NFL to try and revive a franchise. After Vince Young suffered an injury in Week 1, it forced him to miss multiple games. The Titans decided to start Kerry Collins for the bulk of the season, and he would reward them. He would make his second ever career Pro Bowl, going 12-3 as the team's starting quarterback. However, the team would lose in the first round of the playoffs against the Baltimore Ravens. This loss to the Baltimore Ravens would be Kerry Collins' final playoff start. After the 2010 season, he would be released from the Tennessee Titans before spending one more year with the Indianapolis Colts. After the 2011 season ended, Kerry Collins officially announced his retirement from the NFL.
With the 26th selection in the first round, the San Francisco 49ers have selected quarterback Jim Druckenmiller from Virginia Tech.
The San Francisco 49ers used the 26th overall pick in the 1997 NFL Draft on Virginia Tech quarterback Jim Druckenmiller. A little over 2 years after being drafted by the 49ers, Druckenmiller would be traded to the Miami Dolphins in exchange for a late-round draft pick. After his time with the 49ers would come to an end, Druckenmiller would spend 1 year in 1999 with the Miami Dolphins as the team's third-string quarterback. He would spend a few years in the AFL before spending one offseason with the Indianapolis Colts in 2003.
The Indianapolis Colts select quarterback, University of Tennessee, Peyton Manning.
The Indianapolis Colts used the first overall pick in the 1998 NFL Draft on Tennessee quarterback Peyton Manning. Upon his arrival in Indianapolis during the 1998 season, Peyton Manning would quickly establish himself as one of the most promising quarterbacks in the NFL. He would break the rookie passing touchdown record his rookie season, throwing 26 touchdowns. However, he did throw 28 picks. When it came to his early career, Peyton Manning was amazing in the regular season. He would put up career numbers every single regular season while being one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. However, when it came to the playoffs, he would struggle massively as the team's starting quarterback. During the 2003 season, the Colts would go 12-4 under Peyton Manning. That season, he was announced as the 2003 NFL co-MVP alongside quarterback Steve McNair. That season, in the wildcard round, he would throw for 5 touchdowns and over 300 yards while beating the Denver Broncos to 41-10. That would be his first ever career playoff win, with him having a perfect quarterback rating in the game. Despite finally winning a playoff game, Peyton Manning still struggled to beat the New England Patriots. In 2003, the two teams would match up in the AFC Championship game, with the Colts losing 24-14. Manning would struggle during the game, throwing 4 picks. The next year, they would once again play the Patriots in the same game. He would throw 1 pick and 0 touchdowns as the team lost 20-3. After losing to the Patriots again in 2004, Peyton Manning and the Colts would suffer a heartbreaking defeat 21-18 to the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2005 playoffs. After another successful regular season, Peyton Manning and the Colts would go on a magical playoff run during the 2006 season. They would beat the Kansas City Chiefs and Trent Green in the wildcard round. After defeating the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional round on the road, the Colts would host the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game. In this game, the Patriots would lose to the Colts 38-34. After getting past Tom Brady and the Patriots in the AFC Championship game, the Colts were waited for by the Chicago Bears, who were led by quarterback Rex Grossman and an amazing defense. This game was a breeze for the Colts, as during that game, Peyton Manning put on a decent performance. He would throw for 1 touchdown and 1 interception while winning the game's MVP. The victory over the Chicago Bears marked the Indianapolis Colts' first ever Super Bowl since the 1970 season. As for Peyton's career in the NFL, this victory in the Super Bowl marked him as an NFL legend and an all-time quarterback in the NFL's history. After winning the Super Bowl in the 2006 season, Peyton Manning and the Colts would remain playoff contenders between 2007 and 2010. In 2009, they would make it back to the Super Bowl, however they would lose to the New Orleans Saints in a shootout. After that, the Colts pretty much fell apart. In 2010, they would lose to the Jets in the wildcard round, and in 2011, Peyton Manning would struggle with injuries and would not play a single snap again for the Colts after 2010. After the 2011 season ended, the Colts would release Peyton Manning and would then later draft Andrew Luck.
He's a guy that's going to make our football team, he's already made them better, and they haven't all met him yet, just because of the type person he is, his reputation, and what he's done in this league. And so he's just going to be a tremendous effect on the Denver Broncos, and I couldn't be happier that he's chose to play for us. With that said, I'll introduce the next quarterback of the Denver Broncos, Peyton Manning.
After spending over a decade with the Indianapolis Colts, Peyton Manning would sign a 4-year contract with the Denver Broncos in the 2012 offseason. That season, Peyton Manning would have a comeback season. He would have a career year as he won NFL Comeback Player of the Year. He had missed all of 2011 with a neck injury. Behind Manning's elite performance, the Broncos would go 12-4 and would once again qualify for the playoffs. That season, however, they would lose in the divisional round to the Baltimore Ravens on a miracle Hail Mary. In 2013, behind one of the best offenses of all time, Peyton Manning would have an amazing season. He would win NFL MVP along with winning Offensive Player of the Year. He would make another All-Pro team for the NFL. And once again, Peyton Manning would have one of the best seasons in NFL history. That season, he would throw for 55 touchdowns to 10 picks. He would go 13-3 behind the Denver Broncos, and they would make it back to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl for the Broncos was a complete disaster. Peyton Manning and the Broncos would be blown out 43-8 against the Seattle Seahawks. Manning would struggle with him throwing for 2 picks to just 1 touchdown. After losing to his former team in the Colts in the wildcard round in 2014, Peyton Manning would have a massive regression season in 2015. He would throw 9 touchdowns to 17 picks and would be benched for quarterback Brock Osweiler. However, despite that, Denver's defense would carry them to the playoffs, with them still winning 12 games that season. Behind an amazing Denver defense, Peyton Manning would be able to game manage his way to the Super Bowl that year. After beating Tom Brady and the Patriots in the AFC Championship game, they would play MVP winner Cam Newton and the Panthers in the Super Bowl. In what would ultimately be Peyton Manning's final game in the NFL, Manning would go out on top as Super Bowl champion. He would throw for 141 yards and complete 13 passes over 23 attempts. After the Super Bowl ended, Peyton Manning would announce his retirement from the NFL during the 2016 offseason.
With the second choice in the draft, the San Diego Chargers select quarterback, Washington State University, Ryan Leaf.
With the second overall pick in the 1998 NFL Draft, the San Diego Chargers selected Ryan Leaf out of Washington State. Upon being drafted by the Chargers, Ryan Leaf's career with the team was a complete disaster. He would win only 3 games for the Chargers over 3 years. He would suffer an injury in year 2, and his rookie year was a complete disaster. He would throw 2 touchdowns and 15 interceptions, and by 2001, he was out of San Diego. After his brief stint in San Diego, he would spend an offseason with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers before starting a handful of games for the Dallas Cowboys in 2001. In 2002, he would spend an offseason with the Seattle Seahawks before announcing his retirement in 2003. After his time in the NFL came to an end in 2003, Ryan Leaf would briefly be a quarterback coach for WTMU University. In his post-football life, however, Ryan Leaf would have multiple run-ins with the law. However, in recent years, he has mostly gotten his life together, and as of making this video, he is currently an analyst for college football.
First pick in the 1999 draft, the Cleveland Browns selection is from the University of Kentucky, quarterback Tim Couch.
With the first overall pick in the 1999 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns selected Tim Couch out of Kentucky. During his first year in Cleveland, Tim Couch would show flashes of potentially being the team's future franchise quarterback. That year, he would make the all-rookie team while throwing 15 touchdowns and 13 interceptions, and he looked like one of the most promising quarterbacks in the NFL. This is while he didn't have much of a supporting cast due to the fact the Browns were an expansion franchise. After 2 mediocre seasons in both 2000 and 2001, Tim Couch would have a breakout season. He would go 8-6 as the Browns' starting quarterback, and he would help to lead Cleveland to their first playoff appearance since the early 90s. However, he would miss the playoff game due to the fact he suffered an injury in the final game of the season. A little over 2 years after the 2002 season would come to an end, Tim Couch and the Browns would mutually decide to split ways. Couch never got a contract extension due to the fact that he was unable to stay healthy during his time in Cleveland. The Browns decided to move on from him, and he would have 2 brief stints, one with the Jaguars and the other with the Packers, before announcing his retirement.
With the second pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Donovan McNabb, quarterback, Syracuse University.
The Philadelphia Eagles used the second overall pick in the 1999 NFL Draft on Syracuse quarterback Donovan McNabb. After spending his rookie year on the bench behind quarterback Doug Peterson, Donovan McNabb would have a breakout 2000 season. In the 2000 season, Philly would finish the year at 11-5. McNabb would finish as the runner-up to the 2000 MVP award, and he would make his first career Pro Bowl. They would even win a wildcard game over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a massive blowout at home. After losing to the New York Giants in the divisional round, the Eagles' future looked pretty bright under Donovan McNabb, and for the next few years, they had an amazing stretch with McNabb. Between 2001 and 2003, the Eagles would win the NFC East 3 straight seasons. The one thing that eluded the Eagles in the early years of McNabb was making it to the Super Bowl. In 2001, they would fall short to the St. Louis Rams in the NFC Championship game 29-24. In 2002, they would lose an awful performance to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a massive blowout, and in 2003, they would lose to the Carolina Panthers 14-3. Going into the 2004 season, the pressure was on Donovan McNabb and the Eagles to perform in the NFC Championship game. However, as a result, the Eagles decided to go all in 2004. They would trade a 5th-round pick to the San Francisco 49ers in exchange for future Hall of Fame wide receiver Terrell Owens. Upon being traded to the Eagles in 2004, Terrell Owens and the Eagles' expectations going into the season was Super Bowl or bust. In that season, T.O. would be just as he was advertised. The Eagles would go 13-3, with them making it back to the NFC Championship game. Donovan McNabb would have a career season, throwing for 31 touchdowns to 8 picks. The Eagles would face the Atlanta Falcons and quarterback Michael Vick in the NFC Championship game. In the NFC Championship game, Donovan McNabb would have a career day. He would throw for 2 touchdowns and 180 yards for having a quarterback of over 100. He would complete 65% of his passes, and the Eagles would win the game 27-10. After winning the NFC Championship game, in his first and only Super Bowl appearance in his career, Donovan McNabb would reiterate his previous choking legacy. He would throw for 3 touchdowns, but also 3 interceptions, and he lost the game 24-21, with him losing his only Super Bowl appearance to Tom Brady. After the 2004 season came to an end, Donovan McNabb's career with the Eagles would become somewhat stagnated. In 2005, he would suffer an injury which caused him to miss multiple games, and in 2006, he would tear his ACL, which ended his season. The Eagles that year would finish 10-6 and would win a playoff game behind quarterback Jeff Garcia. In 2007, McNabb would miss 2 more games due to an injury, and the Eagles were beginning to question whether or not he was the full-time starter. By this point, the Eagles had drafted quarterback Kevin Kolb in the 2nd round of the draft to be his successor. In 2008, which marked the second to last year that Donovan McNabb spent with Philly, he would have one more shot at the Super Bowl title, this being in the NFC Championship game in which he would lose to the Arizona Cardinals and quarterback Kurt Warner. In 2009, McNabb and the Eagles would go 11-5. McNabb would make his final Pro Bowl. However, in the wildcard game, he would have his worst performance yet. He would lose to the division rival Dallas Cowboys in Jerry's World, and that would be his final game as a Philadelphia Eagle.
Donovan McNabb is headed out of Philadelphia and moving south. The Eagles have traded their longtime quarterback to the Washington Redskins for a pair of draft picks. The deal was announced Sunday night. The Eagles get a 2nd-round pick, the 37th overall, in this month's NFL draft, and either a 3rd or 4th rounder next year. McNabb led the Eagles to a Super Bowl and 5 NFC title games in 11 seasons in Philly. The 33-year-old quarterback is also a 6-time Pro Bowler. But the Eagles did not win it all under McNabb, and with the rise of Kevin Kolb, McNabb was seen as expendable. Dave Ferry, The Associated Press.
The Eagles would trade Donovan McNabb away to Washington in exchange for a few draft picks. During his stint in Washington, he would only last 1 season. However, despite receiving a massive contract extension, Washington would move on from him after 1 year. He would spend 1 year with the Minnesota Vikings in 2011. He would start 6 games with him going 1-5. Throughout his time with the Washington and Minnesota, he was ineffective as a starting quarterback, and he would retire after the 2012 season ended. The amazing thing about Donovan McNabb's career in the NFL, he did most of this without a legit wide receiver 1. While he did have a few options like Terrell Owens, Jeremy Maclin, and Deshaun Jackson, the Eagles really lacked a legit wide receiver for consistent time with McNabb. The leading receiver in terms of a wide receiver for catches from McNabb was wide receiver James Thrash, who played between 2000 and 2003 with the team.
With the 3rd choice, the Cincinnati Bengals select Akili Smith, quarterback, University of Oregon.
The Cincinnati Bengals used the 3rd overall pick in the 1999 NFL Draft on Oregon quarterback Akili Smith. During his time with the Bengals, Akili Smith would combine for 5 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. He would struggle as the team's starting quarterback for him having a losing record as the team's starting QB. After 2003, he would be released in the 2003 offseason. He would spend 1 year with the Green Bay Packers and another with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers before announcing his football retirement in 2008.
With the 11th pick in the draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Dante Culpepper, quarterback, University of Central Florida.
The Minnesota Vikings used the 11th overall pick in the 1999 NFL Draft on UCF quarterback Dante Culpepper. After spending the entire 1999 season behind quarterback Jeff George, Dante Culpepper was named the starting quarterback going into the 2000 season. In the 2000 season, he would have a career year. He would throw for 33 touchdowns to 16 picks and lead the Vikings to an 11-5 record, while also winning their division title. In his playoff debut, Culpepper would have an amazing game. He would throw for 3 touchdowns against the New Orleans Saints and would win the game 34-16. However, in the NFC Championship game against the New York Giants and Kerry Collins, he would lose 41-0, with him having one of the worst games of his career. After the 2000 season for Dante Culpepper, he was inconsistent for the next few years in Minnesota. In 2001, he would suffer a torn ACL late in the season. The Vikings were already eliminated by the playoffs by then. In 2002, he would play all 16 games, but he struggled due to the fact he was still recovering from the lingering knee injuries. In 2003, he would miss 2 games for a back issue. After collapsing in Week 17 of the 2003 season and missing the playoffs, Dante Culpepper would single-handedly carry the Vikings into the playoffs in 2004. Dante Culpepper would throw for 4,700 yards, 39 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. He would make the Pro Bowl while also becoming the Vikings' single-season passing yards leader, and he would also lead the NFL in passing yards. In the wildcard round of the 2004 playoffs, Dante Culpepper would throw for 4 touchdowns against the Green Bay Packers. The Vikings would win the game 31-17, and this would be Dante Culpepper's final playoff win in his NFL career. In 2005, Dante Culpepper would suffer a devastating ACL injury. This would end his career with the Minnesota Vikings, and soon after he would be traded for a second-round pick to the Miami Dolphins in 2006. Culpepper's time with the Miami Dolphins was brief, as he spent just one season there in 2006 with the Dolphins. In 2007, he would sign with the Oakland Raiders on a one-year contract, with him actually getting revenge against the Dolphins that same season. After 2007 came to an end, he would sign with the Detroit Lions on a one-year contract. He would be on the 0-16 Detroit Lions that year, with him throwing to Calvin Johnson, a future Hall of Famer. In 2009, he would re-sign on a one-year contract and would actually play a few games in place of an injured Matthew Stafford. After spending one season in 2010 with the USFL, in 2011, Dante Culpepper would announce his retirement from football.
With the 12th pick in the draft, Chicago Bears select Cade McNown, quarterback, UCLA.
With the 12th overall pick in the 1999 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears selected UCLA starting quarterback Cade McNown. Between 1999 and 2000, McNown would start a total of 15 games. During that time, he would combine for a record of 3-12. McNown would throw for 16 touchdowns and 19 interceptions. In the 2001 offseason, he would be traded to the Miami Dolphins for a 6th-round pick, and after spending one offseason with the 49ers after that, he would announce his retirement from football. Before this video ends, I just want to say thank you so much for the support in the previous video. I've been having so much fun making videos for you guys, and I want to continue. If you have any suggestions for videos, feel free to comment them, and I will make sure to do videos on them. And just like I end most videos with, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely day, and like I said to you all always before, stay cool.